Hello there, I'm Nathan Wegner with SPTV, and today I'm joined by the Chancellor of UW-Stevens Point, Dr. Thomas Gibson. How are you doing today, Chancellor Gibson?
I'm doing very well, Nathan. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. It's really great to have you here.
Absolutely my pleasure.
All right, let's get right into the questions. So you've been in Stevens Point for a few months now. Do you have any favorite places so far? Any restaurants or outdoor activities that you like to do?
Absolutely. So because of the pandemic, I've been somewhat restricted and limited to the number of places that I've been able to visit. But I have found at least 2 or 3 restaurants that I really enjoy. The first is it Father Fat's right downtown. I really enjoyed the food there. And then, surprisingly, someone shared with me a place called Silver Coach, and that was pretty interesting, and that was good as well. And so far, my best pub burger has been at Ghouls downtown. So those are my 3 top favorites, but I'm certain that I will have more as I get out and about this summer.
Yeah, unfortunately the pandemic has kind of shut down a few of those businesses, but I've been to some of those places myself. Definitely some good choices here.
Good.
So I know that you have an enjoyment of the theater and music arts. Have you taken advantage of any of the online options for the performances here at UWSP, or are you waiting more for live events to return?
So that's a good question. So I was able to view the Suzuki recital that was, I think it was taped back in March of this year. So I didn't watch it live, but I was able to watch a recording of it. And those young folks are just, they were just incredible. You know, Suzuki is a program here on campus, and they really engage students in the fine arts from as early as 4 years old. So to see some of these young folks really demonstrating their talent was quite amazing. But to your point, I cannot wait until theater performances and musical performances, all forms of art, are back, in person, and that's the plan for this coming fall. So I just can't wait.
Yeah, I think that's something that we're all looking forward to, that kind of potential return to normalcy.
Absolutely.
So your introduction video to the university, I think a lot of people enjoyed it for the humor that you put on display there, calling the cupola a weird weather vane thing. Do you plan on keeping this lighthearted approach as you interact further with students?
I do. As Chancellor, I do not take myself, too serious. And I want students, as well as faculty and staff, to know that I'm approachable. I really enjoy the interaction. I really enjoy getting to know people and hearing about their stories and what their dreams and aspirations are, and if there are ways that I can be helpful. Those are the things that matters most to me. Initially I was a little reluctant, to do some of those videos because I didn't know if it would be viewed as, too silly too soon. But, I have a good sense of humor. And again, if I can connect with folks in that way, I think it was certainly worthwhile doing those videos. And I plan to keep doing them if folks enjoyed them.
Well, I know I personally enjoyed them at least, so
Okay,
I'd be
good.
looking forward to more if that's a route you decided to go down.
Thanks, Nathan.
You're welcome. So you're a few months now to being the Chancellor here at UWSP. How would you describe this semester has been for you?
So it's been demanding. So as I shared, the pandemic has limited my ability to have significant in-person engagement. But at the same time, the pandemic has allowed me to connect with folks across geography, via Zoom meetings. So I'm meeting a great number of folks. I would say, planning for an in-person commencement has been challenging, but at the same time, I know that it will be rewarding and certainly something that our graduates and their families will enjoy. As we also previously shared, I'm planning for in-person experiences come this fall. So making sure that we have good mitigation, COVID-19 mitigation practices in place will be extremely important. And you may not be aware, but the institution is also implementing its strategic plan. So we're beginning the planning for the strategies and the tactics that will help advance our strategic plan. So each of these things are very heavy lifts, but exciting at the same time, because it really begins to provide a glimpse of what the future experience of the university might be.
Yeah, I can imagine all those things sound quite demanding, but also it sounds like the payoff for investing in all of those things will definitely be worth it.
Absolutely.
So kind of going off of that, now that you've been here for a few months, you've gotten to know the campus a little better, have any of your initial goals or plans changed at all? And are there any ideas that you've come up with or any that you feel could be implemented in a different way?
Sure. So the goals that I identified, and I identified three strategic imperatives that I feel will move this institution forward with great momentum. And the first is academic excellence. That third goal is inclusive excellence. And the third is enrollment and growth. And none of those goals have been changed, but I would say that having had the opportunity to spend more time on campus and engaging with colleagues and students, what I've been able to do was develop some strategies to help better operationalize those goals. So now I have a better sense of those goals, which I define as imperatives. What might they look like in practice? And so that's been really encouraging for me to be able to discover that. So I wouldn't change anything. I haven't changed anything. I just have more information to better define those imperatives.
Yeah, that makes sense. Once you're actually within the throes of the campus itself and understanding what exactly is going on here, I'm sure it's been a lot easier to figure out exactly how to plan that for the campus.
Absolutely, yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So what are you most looking forward to in the next few semesters?
In-person experiences. I really can't wait. I largely have been engaging with folks via Zoom. And as a quick digression, I was speaking with a colleague in the hallway of the old main building, and someone walked by and they looked up at me and said, "You do exist." And I'm like, yeah, I do actually, in fact, because they've largely only seen me via Zoom. I had to ensure her that I was not a flat Stevie, cardboard that's in front of the Zoom camera. So indeed, I'm looking forward to a more familiar campus experience where I really get an opportunity to interact with a significant number of folks.
Yeah, I think that's something that we're all looking forward to now that we're sort of reaching the potential end of this pandemic, when I'm sure a lot of students will enjoy being able to interact with you more in that way.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So what impresses you most about UWSP now that you've been here?
I would probably say the resiliency of the community. This is a community that has been through, so much in terms of responding to the effects of the pandemic and needing to pivot to online learning, and the faculty and staff who needed to pivot to remote work and needing to design their courses in such a way that allows students to continue to have deep learning experiences, and to the staff who needed to be creative in thinking about how do we continue to deliver top-notch support services to students in a virtual or electronic environment. So the resiliency of the community has been extremely impressive in my view. And I haven't quite figured this out quite yet, but I feel connected, to this community, and in a way that I didn't know that I would be in a largely remote work environment, because I'm not seeing folks. But after spending a few months in meetings with some of these folks, when I see them in person, I feel like I'm talking to a long lost friend or pal. So it's pretty energizing in that way.
Well, I'm really glad that you feel connected in that way to the people here at UWSP. I think that's really important for any community that you're a part of.
Absolutely, yes.
All right. So what aspect of UWSP do you feel needs the most changes, and which aspect do you feel needs the least changes?
Sure. Most changes. So I think we have an opportunity to increase our diversity of our students, faculty, and staff. I think that, and this is related to my statement, and that's that I think that UWSP is largely known for its College of Natural Resources and our sustainability efforts, which is great. That's part of our identity, and I think it's a strong identity for the institution. But there's some equally as strong programs in other colleges as well. So I think the institution have an opportunity to raise our national profile and really begin to recruit students from across the country. And while that will be no small order, I know that we have the talent and the expertise of our faculty to really attract a national student body. So that's what I'm really interested in pursuing, and I believe we have a great opportunity to succeed in.
Yeah, I think all the students here at UWSP can attest to the greatness of the campus, and would hope to have some more people coming on a national level.
Absolutely.
I think that'd be great.
Yes.
So we kind of touched on it before with some of your other questions. It seems COVID-19, maybe don't want to say it too soon, but it might be coming to an end. We're slowly returning to normal. In-person classes are going to be planned more for the fall. And though the COVID measures are slowly peeling away, what have you learned during this time that you feel is important to keep in mind as we return more to that state of normalcy?
Sure. That's a great question. So certainly we fully recognize and we have evidence that indeed a great number of students excelled in this online learning environment. But on the other side of that coin, we also realized that some students struggled in that particular environment. So what I've learned is that we won't or should not abandon some of those online strategies that we're currently employing. I particularly enjoy the fact that our counseling center is able to provide telecounseling. And what we've realized is that the counseling center was able to reach a greater number of students and new students who haven't in the past had any interactions with the center. So that's just one example of one resource that we should continue into a post-pandemic environment. We may also want to continue to experiment with online office hours for faculty and online student organization meetings. I mean, there may be students who really want to be actively involved, but cannot physically in person attend a 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. Club meeting. But virtually, online, they may be able to do so. So there are some experiences in this pandemic environment I think will serve students in the institution well once on the other side of this pandemic.
Yeah, it seems like once we can return to in-person activity, the online that we've been required to use, we could definitely use as a pretty strong supplement for those things.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So the Student Government Association has opened discussions surrounding the BLM movement, the Stop Hate movement, and other related movements like that. And part of that discussion around that has been about divesting from campus policing entirely. So what part do you think you play in these conversations on campus as that might potentially happen?
Sure. So my role is really to listen, to have a clear understanding on how each and all students are experiencing our campus community and environment. And part of my role is to make sure that each and all sides and parties have an opportunity to engage with one another. I think learning happens, understanding happens when there's an opportunity to have conversations. And my role is to ensure that as members of our community that I'm bringing folks together to really engage in conversations that will help to move the institution forward. And the 3 months or so that I've been here, I have yet to hear particularly about challenges our students have with our own university police department, which is great. And I don't know that many institutions could probably say the same thing. But largely speaking, based on my experience working with university police departments, their approach is somewhat unique. They tend to have more of a community policing model. They tend to know the campus community in a more intimate way than you would have in a municipality, somewhere out in another state or city. And I think that relationship really allows students in our police department to partner on issues and work through any perceived challenges. And that's the position that I think I would be most effective in, is making sure that I'm convening opportunities for discussions regarding any issue that's of interest to parties.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's always good to be able to have that sort of middle ground where people can come together and talk.
Yes.
So do you think that following the events of that past year, that conversations about our own campus police, are they productive? Are they a worthwhile endeavor to have?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's the only pathway, in my view, where you can truly solve issues or problems is through conversation. And it's through that exchange, I think, understanding could be reached. So absolutely, I would be extremely supportive and an active participant in ensuring that these discussions continue.
All right. And then I'm not sure if you've had any of these conversations so far, but if for the ones that you may have had or in the future, how have they influenced your goal to expand inclusive excellence at the campus?
Sure. So I haven't had specific questions regarding campus policing, but certainly, it's not lost on me, some of the societal injustices that are occurring involving law enforcement, generally speaking. So as I think about my strategic imperative surrounding inclusive excellence, if we're going to ensure that we have a campus that's welcoming, that's supportive, a campus that values and respects difference across all, identities, then we have to make sure that we have a campus environment that's inclusive and that's supportive of these ideals. So, and I talked previously about ensuring that there's an opportunity to increase racial and ethnic and identity diversity at the institution. So, and again, if I'm to make good on that imperative, I have to make sure that this campus climate is appropriate for this population of students, and that's a priority for me.
Yeah, I think that's something that'll be better for everyone to have the campus environment be more inclusive.
Absolutely. It's really about, I'm sorry, Nathan,
no,
but
it's
really about, creating a place where students, faculty, and staff, and all members of our community feel a sense of belonging, and that's important to me.
Yeah, I think that's really important for anything to strive for, and I'm really happy to hear that's an important part of being on the campus for you.
Yes.
So Earth Week was just a little while ago.
Yes, yeah.
We at SPTV actually covered a protest on fossil fuel divestment. And one of the things they pointed out during that was the contradictions in kind of calling ourselves a green, sustainable campus while still investing in fossil fuels and thus fueling the climate crisis. Was this something that you were aware of?
No. So I think that the student organization may have set up their protests or rally for support not too far from my office, because I believe that I heard some of their messages from my office. So that's when I first became aware that the group was attempting to bring some awareness and education to the issue regarding the institution's practices with fossil fuel investment. I'm not aware of it. So if you invite me back, I will do some homework to better understand if we indeed have some type of relationship with fossil fuel investment, and what might be some opportunities to begin to divest. So if you bring me back, I'll do some homework, and I'll better understand what the climate is for us here at the university.
Well, I think we'd be more than happy to hear from you about that after you have a chance to do some research. And this is an issue that's in the UW system as a whole, not just UWSP. But do you think this is something that UWSP should be working to prevent?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I shared that sustainability in its broadest sense is part of the institution's identity. And it is something that we're very proud of as well. I believe you're aware that we have a sustainability director here on campus, and that's helping to develop our strategy for ensuring that we continue to be a green campus and a campus that is very conscious of the way that we utilize energy here at the institution. So I certainly believe that this will be a part of an ongoing conversation regarding how do we do better.
All right, I think that sounds excellent. So that's all the questions I have for you. I want to thank you very much for taking the time to be with us, Chancellor Gibson.
Okay.
Do you have any final thoughts or things you'd like to share?
Sure. So first let me thank you, Nathan, for being such a great host of this program. You've asked some pretty interesting and thought-provoking questions. So thank you for that, and thank you for everyone who invited me to be here on this program. But to the pointers out there, I look forward to having an opportunity to meet with you, to engage with you, to get to know you better come this fall. So I hope that you stay connected to this institution, and I hope that you are equally as excited as I am for a more familiar UWSP campus experience. So can't wait to see you, and go Point.
All right. Well, thank you very much again for your time, Chancellor Gibson.
Absolutely.
This has been Nathan Wegner with SPTV News.